Welcome everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Abiola Abrams, and she's a passionate living coach at abiolatv.com, and she's also the author of the Sacred Bombshell Handbook of Self-Love. I'm so excited to have her here today because today we're talking about, are you an unavailable woman? And I know, ladies, while you may think you're available and you're just not meeting the right guy, I think Abiola is going to tell us some signs that you actually are unavailable. Right, Abiola?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Suzanne. This is such an important topic. Ladies, I am here to call you on your BS, which stands for, my Abiola vocabulary, your belief systems. Because I have so many women who contact me, Suzanne, and they say, I've been trying to find, a boyfriend, or I've been trying to date or whatever. And, all these men are unavailable. And then when I delve deeper into their situation, I find out that they're the ones who are really unavailable. So let's talk about it. I'm excited to talk about this topic.
Okay, so tell me some ways that a woman is unavailable and she's really blocking herself from meeting the right man.
Yes. Well, there are many different ways that a woman could be unavailable. Of course, we talk about unavailable men all the time, but, many of us at different points in our lives can be unavailable, and that's okay. But the problem is when you want to be available and you think that you are, but you're not. So you might be unavailable if you think that, well, I've been looking everywhere for him and I can't find him. And then if someone says, well, what have you done? And you literally haven't done anything, unless it's the UPS guy, you're going to look out and the mailman's going to ring your bell and that's going to be your Mr. Right. You're not going to find the person by just sitting there in your living room and not doing anything. You might be unavailable if you have a belief system where you sit around with your friends and you just complain and moan about how, all guys are horrible and dating sucks and men are dogs and all the good ones are taken, and and that's what you're doing.
That I want to add to that because I hear this all too often, and my belief system about when women say things like that, like there's no good men out there, all men are cheaters, because Abiola, I know you've heard all of these, yeah. Or especially because both Abiola and I live in New York City, is I hear a lot of women say, oh, well, there's more single women in New York than there are single men, so that's why I can't meet the right guy. And I feel like all these things that women say is that it's actually your excuse for why you can't meet the right guy, and it makes you feel better because if you have that excuse in your mind, it's like, okay, well, that's why I can't meet the right guy. I will tell you all those excuses, and Abiola is going to agree, they're bogus. It's an excuse.
They are completely excuses. And if you're sitting around with your single girlfriends or sometimes with your married girlfriends and you're commiserating, the key part of that is you're misery rating, sitting around and reveling in your misery rather than trying to find solutions and just getting out there. And as Suzanne said, finding excuses for why your life isn't working. That you might be unavailable if you had, a big, as I call it in the book, a post-traumatic love disorder. If you're stuck in, past love situation and you're unable to move forward because you had a bad breakup or someone broke your heart or someone turned out to not to be who you thought that they would be. You might be unavailable if you are using your work, your age, your looks, your weight, something to kind of hold you back and say, okay, well, when I lose the weight or when I move or when I get the job or when I, cut my hair or grow my hair or whatever it is, women, we're very creative. We can give life and we can also come up with the most fascinating stories of why we don't have what we want to have. So, so those are some ways that women can be unavailable.
Exactly. And one I've heard that you didn't actually mention, though, is I've heard women in their 40s and 50s say to me that, well, men my age just want to date younger women. Okay. Yes. Well, not every single man in his 40s and 50s and 60s wants to date a younger woman. Obviously, there are some, but then obviously that's not the right man for you.
Right.
So let's focus on the men that want to date the women that are your age or whatever it is. And the other thing that I want to add, Abiola, because you talked about getting out there, and a lot of women will say, well, I've done everything and I'm just not meeting Mr. Right. I guarantee you, you have not done everything, because if you did everything, you would have met Mr. Right. So stop saying I've done everything and I haven't met Mr. Right.
Right. Yes, that those are all, cases where we're unavailable. And like I said, that there's nothing wrong with realizing, like, okay, whoa, I'm in a situation where I don't want to be, but then you want to take steps toward solving it. You want to take steps toward moving forward. But that very, very first step is looking at your situation honestly, and not through victim colored glasses, not through, here's why, like we said, you're too old or too whatever or too anything. Anytime that you start a sentence with, but I'm too blank, or men don't like women like me who blank, that you need to look at yourself and look at why it is that you may be afraid of finding the love that you deserve, why you may think that you don't deserve to have love. A lot of us, let's talk about the issues why someone might be unavailable. Fear is a big factor. Having been hurt before, or fear of going out there again. Maybe you were in a long-term relationship and now you've got to get back out there. Fear of, well, it didn't used to be like this when I was dating. Now it's this kind of situation. Well, that's fine, but now you've got to learn something new and just get out there, and that's the key. You might be unavailable if you are afraid of intimacy. That is a big one. Fear of intimacy is a huge, huge deal, that, many of us are just afraid to really let someone into our hearts because that vulnerability is scary. And so these are the reasons why we, remain unavailable.
Exactly. And it's understandable, because if you've been hurt before, that it can be scary to open up your heart to somebody again, but you have to realize that not every man is going to be that way. And this is what I always say, is that if you really do want to meet the right man and you want to fall in love, it requires two things. And Abiola may add her own, but I always say it requires two things, and that's trust and vulnerability. And if you don't have those two things, then it's not going to happen. Because if you're blocking him, or you're not letting him in, or you don't trust him, or whatever it is, it's not going to happen.
I couldn't agree more, that trust, vulnerability, that again, like, I want to just stress how much those things, start with the way that you deal with yourself and deal with the other people in your life. That I say all the time, how we do anything is how we do everything. And so you can't feel like, okay, well, I'm going to be an open and vulnerable person, for example, once I finally find this guy, if you are closed and guarded with your friends and your family. If you are, as we've talked about before, Suzanne, feeling like you need to put up a wall of perfection, that perfection will really, really do you in. Like, the idea that you've got to somehow portray yourself as perfect, whether it's to the guys or to other people in your life, really, really holds you back from being able to be yourself. That's what is going to excite a man. That's what's going to make him feel like, ooh, this is an open and available and juicy woman, waiting to be loved. Is that vulnerability, that trust, that openness. That's all feminine energy. That I really want to invite you all to tap in and tune into your feminine energy. The subtitle of my book, Suzanne, is actually the 10 secrets, 10 forbidden secrets of feminine power. And, definitely being vulnerable, being open, learning how to receive. Ladies, very important. Many of us, can't receive a compliment, much less receive love. And so working on your receiving is very, very important. And also, just as we learn how to receive, learn how to let go, learn how to not hold a grudge, learn how to not hold on to the things that happen to you, and realize that you are who you are in your best situations, not in your worst.
Exactly. Well, these have been some amazing tips. And I know, ladies, that today was a little bit of tough love. I mean, we brought a lot of things to your attention that may be happening in your life. And while you may be like, well, I'm not like that, it's time to really take a step back and go, am I really doing these things? Am I really preventing myself from meeting the right man? Am I really being unavailable? Because I guarantee you, we've all done it at least once in our lives. And even though in your mind you think that you want to meet the right man, you may be blocking him. So again, I know this was tough love, but it's time to look inward, okay? So Abiola, tell our audience how they can find your book, and I want you to show your book because it's a gorgeous picture of you.
Thank you. So here is the cover of the book.
See how gorgeous she looks? The Sacred Bombshell Handbook of Self-Love.
Thank you. That's, as you said, the Sacred Bombshell Handbook of Self-Love. You can find it at abiolatv.com, where the TV stands for Transformation and Victory. But you can also find it, of course, at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you buy books. And if they don't have it, give them my name, give them the name of the book, and ask them to order it for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Abiola, for being on the show. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. If you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man and what turns him off, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.